so I'm here with my July reading wrap up, and I read 12 books in July, 5 physical books, the rest on my Kindle, and as always I have them typed up because I tend to forget what I rated them or what order I read them in, and just stuff like that, so I just like to have it here. July was kind of a funny reading month for me in that it was kind of a reading slump month, but also not. I'll get into that a little bit later on, but I'll start with the physical books. The first book that I read was The Elephant Girl by Henriette Guyland, and this was a review book from Chocolate. I really enjoyed this one. I've read another book by Henriette Guyland, I think it was last year. I read Up Close, and I didn't care for that one as much. This one I liked much more. It's about this woman that when she was really young, she woke up after an epileptic fit to see her mum had been murdered, and she sort of a woman was convicted for it on her testimony, but then when she, like years later now, the case sort of gets stirred up again, and she suddenly realizes that the woman that she sent to prison might actually be innocent. And there's a whole lot of family secrets and drama, and the romance aspect of it was quite sweet. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed it. If you like sort of chick lit books but that have a more serious undertone, so not something like Sophie Kinsella where they're really mostly light fluff, this kind of has a little bit more depth to it, so I do recommend it if you like that sort of thing. The next book that I read was quite a beast, and it was The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This is an advanced copy. The actual finished copy comes out, I did know. I think it is August. I don't know. I should have had this already. Either way, it's out soon. Anyway. This was tough for me because when I started reading it, well, the blurb and everything, it sounded like the perfect read for me. It's kind of a dystopian meets sort of fantasy. It is an adult book, and basically it's sort of a dystopian society in that anyone that has a psychic gift has sort of been driven underground. They're sort of hunted down. They are believed to be unnatural. And so you have this whole criminal underground that is psychic. And it was really, really interesting, but so confusing. The setup, there was just so much build up, and it was so confusing. There was a lot of info dumping. At times it felt like I was reading a history textbook rather than an actual story. So it had a lot of issues, mostly sort of pacing, but the plot was actually sound and I really enjoyed it. Our main character is sort of kidnapped and taken to this place where a different level of psychic, they're sort of from another dimension, they rule, and they use all the other psychics, like our main character, they use them. And it was really interesting. It was hard to plough through. I did find it really slow, and there were times, particularly the first 200 pages, where I felt like maybe I couldn't carry on reading. It was that kind of slow and kind of uninteresting at the beginning, but when we hit halfway, I liked it way more. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5, and I will definitely be carrying on with the series, but it is going to be a 7-part series, which I am worried there isn't enough substance to it to stretch it out that long. I mean, this one was pretty big, so I am worried 7 books might be too much, but I will wait and see. The next book that I read was the buddy read pick for Ryan from Ryan Reads Books and Emma from Emma Hart's Books and I. We read The School for Good and Evil by Siman Chainani. I hope I said that right. We did actually do the live chat, so I will leave a link to that below. Emma unfortunately couldn't be there for the live chat, but Ryan and I discussed our thoughts on this. This was probably my most disappointing read of the whole year so far. I had such high hopes for this. It's a middle grade read about a fairy tale school where the students are split into a school for villains and a school for heroes, and two best friends are taken and they're put in the opposite schools to what they think they should be. So it had a fantastic premise, and the world building was fantastic. The whole concept of the kids go to the school and their fairy tale gets written, and then they go off. That's how fairy tales are created. This magical pen writes them. The whole idea of the fairy tales and the school was really, really good, but the actual book itself, I found the writing very boring. And it was just a big letdown. For more information, you can check out Ryan and I's discussion. It was quite funny because we both sort of felt the same. So I gave this one half marks, and it was mostly 1 mark I think was purely for the cover, because it's one of the best covers I've ever seen, and I did like one of the protagonists but not the other. I just felt there was a lot of inconsistencies and plot holes, and yeah, I was really disappointed by this. And the last physical book that I read was a bit random, and it was Regency Debutante by Margaret McPhee. And this is a bind up, so it's actually 2 books in one. And this is a used copy because I hunted this book down, because I remember before I started BookTube I was obsessed with historical fiction, and particularly the Regency period, and I remember I took this author out at the library and I really wanted to find the books again because I didn't own them. So I've been trying to hunt down her books, and this was one of them. One of the stories I had read before, it was one I took out of the library, and that was the one I wanted to hunt down. And the other one was completely new to me, and I gave both 5 out of 5 because I loved both of them. They're really light, fluffy, cheesy reads. You won't have seen this in a haul yet, but I wanted to read it as soon as it came, and I just loved it. I was just craving some historical cheesy romance, and so yeah, I love these. Okay, so on to the Kindle books that I read. The first one is Frigid by Jaylin. This was a cute little contemporary about a family. Basically, the mother's just died of cancer, and the family sort of drifted apart. And the main character and her family moved to this little cottage that their mother went to when she was younger, and she wanted them to restore it. Her sister is basically turned into a psycho bitch. She can do nothing right. And her dad spends most of the time like zoned out. So it's about them sort of getting over that and coming together. And she meets a boy called Ezra. I found that the whole romance aspect, there was supposed to be this great friendship and this great chemistry, but I didn't feel that. I didn't feel anything for them. I didn't feel that there was any great chemistry or romance. I didn't feel that there was even particularly that strong of a friendship. It fell totally flat. But other than that, it was pretty good, and I gave it 3 out of 5. The next Kindle book that I read was A Touch of Midnight, and this is a novella by Lara Adrian. I was really excited for this one. As you guys probably know if you've been following my channel for a while, I love Lara Adrian's Midnight Breed series, and basically this is a book that fans of the series have been waiting for, because from the very beginning we're introduced to a couple, Gideon and Savannah, but they never had their own book, their own story. They've just been a couple that have been there from the start, and I've always wanted to know their story, their backstory, how they got to be together, and this is basically what that is. And I was so excited to read it. This is another one that I read in just a day because it is just a short novella. Really, really liked it. I do wish that they had their own book. I feel like there could have been enough there for them to have their own book, but because it was Gideon Savannah, I basically took what I could get. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Really, really enjoyed it, and if you haven't checked out The Midnight Breed, you definitely should, but it is an adult sort of urban fantasy um, series. And then I read some more on my Kindle. This is where the reading slump bit came in. It wasn't that it was a slump exactly. I just didn't know what to read, and I just wanted to keep reading sort of historical romance fluff. So that's what I did. I read some more of that on my Kindle, but didn't really want to go into too much detail because you're probably not interested, and they're pretty much, similar kinds of things. So I'm just going to put up some pictures of the books with the star rating that I gave them. Overall, not a bad reading month. I think the weather may have had something to do with the sort of slumpy thing towards the end, because we had kind of 2 weeks really of unbearable heat wave weather, and I'm not cut out for hot weather. I'm more of a winter person. I'm not a big fan of when it's super duper hot. But yeah, I was still pleased with a lot of the books that I read. I hope to get more read in August, but we shall see. And thank you so much for watching, and happy reading, guys.